everyone, welcome back to Organic Hillbilly. So spring, finally starting to get some nice weather out here in the garden, and I'm going to show you guys a couple tips on what I do when I'm planting my tomatoes. When I do these tomatoes, man, I get some really nice ones, some 1-pounders. My favorite one is called the Mortgage Lifter, and that's what I'm going to show you today. This plant's a little tall, but it's good and hardened now, and so when you hear folks talking about hardening their tomatoes and stuff, what you're looking at is this stem right here. And what you want to do when you're picking them out is you want to squeeze it and make sure there's not any soft areas. If you didn't grow these yourself and you're buying them from a local farmer or somewhere, that's one thing you just want to make sure. This one's a little tall. I would say this one's probably about a good 20 inches tall, but the reason that I selected it was because it had a really good stem and it's been hardened for a while. And I spoke a good long time with the lady that I bought it from, and she takes them in at night, keeps them from getting cold, so there's no dead leaves on here or anything like that. So I think this one's going to do pretty good. To plant them, what I like to do is I got a few things. I use a little bit of steamed bone meal down the hole. I use a little bit of oyster shell down the hole. And then I've got some rabbit manure. This rabbit manure comes from a farm locally. The guy used to raise the rabbits for research purposes and sold them to labs and stuff. So he had to be really careful about, they weren't allowed to have anything that wasn't organic. And well, anyway, he sells the poop now. He's still got the rabbits, and this is great stuff because rabbit manure is a little different than cow or cattle, bovine, horse. The good thing for people that are trying to grow organically is rabbit manure releases its nutrients slowly over time, and it's not acidic. You can use it right away when you get it. So what I do is I mix up a couple of handfuls in the hole that I dug from the top dirt. This is going to be a deep hole, so I'm going to trim almost all these bottom leaves off right here. I'm trimming to probably right about here. I'm going to trim this last one off, and I'm going to put this whole thing down the hole about this deep. So you're looking at, that's a good probably a good 8 inches, 9 inches deep. And what that does, I'm going to zoom up here. You see these little hairs? These are all going to turn into roots down that hole, and that's going to give this mortgage lifter a lot of support. And that's what you need when we're growing really, really big tomatoes like the mortgage lifter. Now this year I'm going to try to grow the biggest one I've ever done, so I'm putting a little bit of extra rabbit manure down the hole. But you can see there's about 2 cups of it. I'd normally do maybe a cup, but this will give it a good start. I made sure I got the oyster shell and the bone meal around the sides of the hole so that the roots can have something to kind of grab a hold of and grow, nice and strong too. So I think we're going to have a winner here. So hopefully those tips help you out with your tomatoes. Like and subscribe and throw a comment in there, and let me know what you think. I'll put some links to these great products for you as well. Please buy for me. I really appreciate it. The links are safe. It just goes to your Amazon, and it helps me to keep putting these videos out there, folks. Have a great one, and Organic Hillbilly out. Okay, a couple things we're going to do just before we plant this tomato. We're going to get our shears out here. Get some nice sharp shears. And then you just clean them off good with some rubbing alcohol. Whoop, that's a new bottle. I clean them off good with some rubbing alcohol. What that does is it keeps you from leaving wounds on your branches and stems and causing disease and rot. You want to try to avoid that as much as possible. So all I'm doing right now is just kind of wiping these off and getting them clean, and we should be ready to trim this sucker up. All right. That being said, it's time to trim this. I'm going to lay it on the side here so you can see it a little better. Okay, so I'm just going to go right from the bottom, and I'm just going to trim every little branch that I see off flat, just like that. So there's a sucker right there. Normally I'd just pinch this sucker right off and then let this grow. But we're gonna trim the whole thing. Trimming leaves off tomatoes does not hurt them. These are indeterminate, so they'll do pretty good. This is the last one I'm gonna do right here. So we're gonna get this in the ground now. Hopefully you guys caught all that. You can see how nice and trimmed that is now. Just before we put it in the ground, what we're going to do is we're just going to massage this plastic a little bit so that it pops out. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a hold of these roots, and I'm just going to kind of squeeze them, massage them, get them so they're not compacted from being in the container so much, because I want to reuse these roots. These roots are going to be key to this plant's survival, and we want to keep as many of them as in good shape as we can. So I'm gonna get some of them out of this bundle here, kind of free them up a little bit, and I'm gonna give this just a gentle squeeze, just so it kind of loosens up the dirt. You know, these tomato plants like to breathe, so if you can get them breathing good, when you transplant them, you're going to be in really, really good shape. So that's looking pretty good right there. You see those nice roots? That's what you're looking for. Okay, massage them good. You can see how they're starting to pop out of there now. You don't want to get too aggressive, because that'll stress the plant. I mean, this process stresses the plant anyway. So now that you got your you got all your stuff ready for your plant, your fertilizer, you go ahead and just take a little bit of the dirt that you mixed up and put it over top of the rabbit poop. And that's just a note. You could probably do it without it with rabbit poop because it's not too acidic, but just put that in there like that. Mix it up good. And we know this is going to be a good depth, so I gave it a nice little spot there for it to sit. And I'm just going to set this guy right down in the hole like that. And I want it to be straight. So as I'm pushing the dirt in, I'm just going to do it kind of all around. And as you can see, it's starting to fill in. It's starting to stay straight. So I want this, you know, this stem's got a little bit of a bend in it, and then it straightens out. So that's all I'm doing. I'm going to bury this sucker right up. Just like that. Okay. Looking good. Looking real good. Look at that onion out of there. It's alright though. It's a good complementary plant. A little more. Well, this guy's ready. He's so big that he's ready to be tied off. So I'm going to tie him, and I'll show you a little bit on that process next. So as you can see, I've got trellis overhead here. I've already got some string up here, and this is what I do. I trellis these in, and I string this string up so that this tomato has something to climb on. It also gives the tomato a little bit of support. So watch. I don't grow them up too much taller than this, because I don't want to have to be on a step ladder to reach everything on all the fruit grows. I'm getting ready to harvest. Just kind of thinking ahead sometimes is the best thing you can do when you're gardening. And I got my string in place. I'm going to teach this. I'm going to have two shoots coming off of this tomato. One going up here to the right, and then I'll have another one coming up here to the left. But we'll just get the first one in for right now so you can kind of see what it looks like. I use these little plastic keepers. What they do is they just keep the string in place, and they grow around, and they let that tomato climb a little better, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around the base. It doesn't have to be super tight. I do like it a little snug though, because that snugness kind of helps everything stay into place. And I don't make this knot tight, because sometimes I want to pull these out and readjust them and stuff. I just want this knot to be right underneath that nodule, so that way I know where that nodule ends up at in the plant, and that's where I started to tie it down in case I have to move it. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to put this little clip on, and this will give the plant a little bit of rigidity. It'll also train it to start growing up on this string. Remember, these indeterminate types, they like to climb. So if you can give them a means to climb, they will climb and they will produce a lot of fruit. So we're going to put this clip together like that. So now as this plant grows, it's going to tighten up, and I can, another thing I can do is I can give it a 1 or 2 little wraps around here, just like that. Just want to be careful not to bend it too much. You don't want to break it. And that's it. That's how I get my tomato started. I'm going to do this for the rest of my plants. Sorry about the video. It wasn't the best day. It's really windy out here. So I just re-aimed it so you can see what I did. Tied down here toward the bottom. I put my little keeper in place. Whoop, and I missed it grabbing the string. So I'm going to do that and show you. There's a little notch in the back of this keeper, and that's where your string goes, right there. Just like that. Now, we're going to have a happy little tomato. Because it's this node right here is going to catch on this, and it's going to inhibit it, and it's going to start to build up the bulk of the base of this stem more. And as it's doing that, it's going to send more energy into the top of the plant. This is where all the magic happens. And we're gonna just continue to, as this gets taller and taller, we're going to wrap this string around it as it grows tall. All right, thanks again.